Paul Levinson, and welcome to Light On, Light Through, episode 365, my review of The Way Home, first season. So, I got the email from TV Line the other day alerting me to Rebecca Iannucci's 10 hidden gems you may have missed from this year's TV article, and I was delighted to find The Way Home on the Hallmark channel on this list of 10, starting with this comment from Rebecca Iannucci, quote, "Scoff at a Hallmark series inclusion on this list if you must, but we were quickly captivated by this time travel drama." Now, to tell you the truth, I can't remember the last time I watched anything on Hallmark, if ever. But I was delighted because I'm always up for a time travel movie or a TV series I haven't seen before. As I've told you now, probably, 100 times, maybe a little less, but a lot of times, time travel is my favorite genre as a reader, a viewer, and author. Alternate history is a close second, but the two are closely related. A lot of alternate history stories play off of someone traveling to the past and doing something to change the timeline. And, I enjoyed The Way Home so much. I binged the whole series. That's the best way to see a TV series, all 10 episodes. And I'm eagerly awaiting the second season that will start rolling out on Hallmark on January 21st, 2024. Now, I'd say the series is somewhere between Outlander and The Time Traveler's Wife, which is high praise in my book. Like those two series, The Way Home is science fantasy. No time machine or black hole in space is in evidence. No person or group is apparently engineering the time travel. Just a pond with a mind of its own up in Canada. Now, when the mechanism of time travel is fantasy rather than science, clicking your heels together 3 times like Dorothy did in The Wizard of Oz, that puts a lot of pressure on the narrative to excel in other areas. And that's what The Way Home does in all kinds of ways. It has a refreshing pop cultural savvy. There's no way that guy becomes president. Elliot says, this has to be about Trump, of course, in 1999, when he asked teenage Alice, who has traveled back to 1999 from 2023, to tell him something else about the future. Later, Elliot makes a Marty McFly reference. Alice makes a face like she doesn't know who that is, and Elliot says, "Come on, Back to the Future?" And the story glistens with literary and even philosophic references. Alice's mother, Kat, quotes from Faulkner. Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, that's the original title of the novel, known better to us as Alice in Wonderland. Well, that makes a literal appearance in a nice old copy of the book with the words, quote, "I can't go back to yesterday because I was a different person then," unquote. And those words are underlined in the book and therefore in the TV series because those words have crucial relevance to the story in The Way Home. Kierkegaard's, quote, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards," is also quoted. That is really a brilliant quote, and Kierkegaard is one of my favorite philosophers. You know, The Way Home is sometimes reminiscent of Virgin River, which my wife and I actually watch as a guilty pleasure. But that soap opera has nothing approaching a Faulkner or Lewis Carroll quote, let alone Kierkegaard. Music also plays a major role in The Way Home. One of the best scenes in this first season has older Kat and Elliot singing along to Sister Hazel's All For You, including the mimicking try-in that Elliot voices as they drive down the road. And another song for All I Wanted, written for the series by Maria Taylor Pence and sung by Alice in the final episode. Well, that's just one beautiful song. And before I warn you about spoilers, I was happy to hear Elliot, who in 2023 is a high school science teacher, cite, quote, Novikov's self-consistency principle of a single timeline, unquote, to explain why traveling to the past can't change anything in this fictitious world. And those of you who are listeners to Light On, Light Through for more than this episode will recall that this is the second time I've encountered Novikov in a time travel story in the past few months. And I'll have a link to my review of Chris Cosmane's Novikov Windows in the show notes to this episode of Light On, Light Through. That was the first time I encountered Novikov's Windows these past few months. And I have to say, though, I do prefer being able to change the past in the time travel stories that I write. It's good to see Novikov's principle because it bespeaks a respect for the paradoxes that travel to the past inevitably engenders. Now, as to the plot, okay, here's the warning about spoilers to follow. The essence of this story is two people from 2023, Alice and her mother, Kat, traveling via the pond back to 1999, where they interact with people, Kate's mother, Dell, Elliot, etc., in all sorts of profound life and death ways. Elliot in 2023 has knowledge of everything that happened to him with the time travelers in 1999, and that's a central part of the story. But if Elliot has that knowledge, how come Kat, who meets time-traveling Alice when Kat was a teenager in 1999, how come Kat, as her mother, doesn't remember meeting Alice in 2023 when Kat is Alice's mother? Would that be because of Novikov's principle? I don't know. Maybe. Okay. But if so, how come Elliot was able to surmount that? Also, how come the adult Kat from 2023 apparently doesn't look the least bit familiar to her father back in 1999 until the tragic car crash she accidentally causes in her attempt to stop him from crashing and dying? And by the way, that itself is a very nice example of the venerable time travel chestnut of time travelers causing the very tragedy they went back in time to prevent. I also guessed the ending, Jacob missing because he jumped into that time travel pond and for some reason was not able to get back. Though I didn't foresee the dog having a significant role, and that was a nice touch. In any case, it's exceedingly difficult to get all the wheels of a complex time travel story moving in sync, and The Way Home does a pretty good job of that. The three women at the heart of the story, Dell, Kat, and Alice, are brought to life by Andie MacDowell, always a pleasure to see, and she played both older and younger Dells. Chyler Leigh, she memorably played older Kat. First time on the screen for me seeing her. She was in Grey's Anatomy, which I didn't watch with my wife. And Sadie Laflamme-Snow, the same age Alice in 2023 and 1999, because she's time traveling back and forth. That was the first time on the screen for me seeing her as well. And Evan Williams, who I did see in Blonde and Westworld, did his customarily good work as the adult Elliot, and he has a good singing voice. Well, they'll all be back in the second season, and who knows who else. And I'll be back then too, next month, with more reviews of The Way Home.
The Light on Light Through podcast.
And I hope you enjoyed that review of The Way Home Season 1. I will be back here with reviews of Season 2 in 2024. And before then, I'll of course have another episode of this podcast, Light On, Light Through, next Tuesday. In the meantime, stay safe, stay sound, and keep doing whatever you can to help the brave people of Israel and Ukraine fight off the terrorists and fascists that have attacked and are attacking their countries.
The Light on Light Through podcast.
Athens, 2042 AD. She ripped the paper in half, then ripped the halves, then ripped what was left again into bits and pieces of history that could have been. Sierra Waters had read once that, years ago, it was thought that men made love for the thrill, while women made love for the sense of connection it gave them.
Curled Up with a Good Book says, Sierra Waters is sexy as hell. You can find out more about The Plot to Save Socrates by Paul Levinson at theplottoSaveSocrates.com.
Paul Levinson silk code about an ancient biotech war raging on